We'll continue our series, Acts Facts, the Jewish Journey through the book of Acts. You remember 2 weeks ago, I left us off in the midst of an argument. I interrupted an argument. Well, it was going on too long. I had to leave. But it's not my fault. Acts 15. This is the Jerusalem Council. The Jerusalem Council, which was convened by the apostles, precipitated because of events in Antioch. Believers who were trying to impose not just circumcision, but the law of Moses upon new Gentile believers, and saying that in order to be saved, they must keep the customs of Moses. And so, for Paul, this would not fly, neither would Peter. And so, a big shindig, a big hoo-ha, actually it was Hebrew, it was hoo-ha, was convened in Jerusalem, called the Jerusalem Council. And we saw last week, 2 weeks ago, we saw the argument of Peter, and we saw the arguments of Barnabas and Paul relating to Gentile salvation, and both Peter and Paul arguing that Gentile salvation is by grace through faith plus nothing, okay, and that Gentiles do not have to come to the Messiah through the door of Judaism or through the Mosaic covenant. They come through the new covenant. And that is where we left off, but you can see from the title of this section of Acts that you can see what's going to happen. And it is in this passage, truly, that we move officially from Jewish sect to universal church. And we see the apostolic decision, the verdict that is going to be delivered in verse 13. So, picking up in verse 13, after they had stopped speaking, James answered, saying, "Brethren, listen to me." So when the moment was finally reached, that everyone who cared to weigh in on the controversy had done so, and there was nothing more to be said, which must have been some lengthy period of time, there actually nothing more to be said at this point, the chief elder of Yerushalayim, of Jerusalem, and the president of the Jerusalem Council, that was the Apostle James, articulates his solution. Now, let's take a moment and discuss James. It's always important before we discuss what they say to have a biographical moment to see who they are. What was James's story? What was his claim to fame? Of course, his name's not James at all. It's Yaakov from Hebrew. He's the half-brother of Jesus. Yakobos in Greek, that's where it comes from. And he was the half-brother of Jesus and became a believer following his brother Jesus' death. Perhaps at a moment when Yeshua, had made an individual post-resurrection appearance to him. He had led the Jerusalem church for 18 years, 44. Now we're at about 50 right now. So he's led the church already for about 6 years, from 44. We're at 50. He's going to lead it for another 12 until 62 AD, his death. And he rises to prominence following the dispersion of most of the apostles to their respective itinerant ministries. And church tradition remembers his nickname, Yaakov Tzedek, James the Just, James the Righteous. He was pious, ascetic, and devout in his adherence to Torah, and well esteemed throughout Jerusalem. So James is an excellent example of someone who can argue that while Torah on the one hand, Torah, the law of Moses, is no longer binding on either Jewish or Gentile believers, yet it is not to be dispensed with, and And James was quite faithful to Torah and respected in both Christian and non-Christian circles. Another church tradition records the details that his calloused knees were as hard as a camel's. How? From time spent kneeling in prayer. He, of course, is the author of the Epistle of James, most of which you'll notice echoes what his brother said in the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew 5-7 relates an expansion of the Sermon on the Mount. And I want you to know that the facility that James's epistle is written in, that he demonstrates in his letter, James suggests a higher level of education than is commonly assumed was possessed by Galilean craftsmen like James, who was a carpenter by trade, like his brother, like his father before him, a craftsman. And if we think about the fact that James's letter exhibits such a high level of quality Greek, and we know that he was raised in Nazareth, and the one who was raised with him in Nazareth received the same education with him, was Jesus, it certainly leads many and should lead us to reconsider the impact of the Greco-Roman, Galilean cultural world, the matrix in which James and Jesus was raised, which will correct many who preach how unlearned Jesus was, how uneducated Jesus was, and what a remarkable thing that this uneducated carpenter, this layman, was able to speak so eloquently. He was raised with a brother who demonstrated the same facility. They must have had a quality education. Time to revisit our ideas of what it was like to grow up and be educated in Nazareth.